Can a narcissist change? Is he able to change? Is he willing to change? Will he ever change? What about you? Ben, you're on social media. You say you're a narcissist, all these different things. Now, the amount of questions I get probably every single day on multiple platforms that we're on asking, well, how did you change? Well, what happened here? All these different things. There's just a ton. And so I want to break it down a little bit today and talk through a little bit. Can a narcissist change? Because there's a lot of people out there that say one thing or say another thing or believe in between. And I want to just give my perspective. Now, I don't think I can sit on this platform and say narcissists can never change and it's absolutely impossible for any narcissist ever to change, because then you'll look at me and be like, wait, you're a hypocrite because you say you're a narcissist. So I totally get that. Here's the thing that I'll say just to start off this video, and we can kind of walk through it from here. Anybody, a narcissist, an empath, a living, breathing human being cannot change on any level if they're not willing to engage with honesty and the truth. Now, this is the piece that people struggle with because they're like, well, wait a second. Are you saying a narcissist can change? Yes, I am. I'm saying there's a lot of people in this world that can actually change if they're willing to actually work on themselves, if they're willing to be honest about the problems that they face in their life, if they're willing to be honest and transparent about the things that they're doing. Here's the thing. You're going to have narcissists and you're going to have empaths or survivors or different people that you come across in life that are going to be unwilling to change their current frame of reality. A narcissist is unwilling to change their current frame of reality because they view themselves as being correct. They view themselves as being right. They view themselves as being the God of the universe, the person that's in charge. I know this because this is how I've shown up for multiple years. And the thing is, people are like, well, they're never going to change. They're never going to see a different perspective. The majority of times that's true because they're unwilling to actually admit that they did anything wrong. Like for years, I did not want to admit that there was anything wrong with me. One of the lies that I told myself was I am a good person because I wanted to believe that, even though it wasn't true. I was a liar, I was a cheater, like multiple things. And even though it wasn't true, I still wanted to believe I am a good person. It was a story that I fabricated in my mind to make myself feel better for how I was actually showing up. And so you need to understand a narcissist will fabricate all types of stories to make themselves feel better, to lie to themselves. And if they're not honest with the stories that they're believing, if they're not honest with how they're lying to themselves, they won't have any type of change happen at all. Now, on the flip side, you have to understand with all the survivors that I talked to, and like at the time of this recording, like over 2,000 people that I've talked to one-on-one, like this, in a Zoom setting though, one-on-one, going through this whole process, that a lot of times you find survivors that are also lying to themselves. Now, this is the hard part because a lot of times they don't realize that they're lying to themselves. They don't realize that they're telling themselves a story. The story that says, you'll never be good enough. A story that says, no one will ever love a single mom. A story that says, you'll never be good enough without him. It'll never be better with someone else. All of these stories, all of these lies that you start to tell yourself that you don't even know is lies. You don't even know, but has been placed and impressed upon you over the years. Being in a toxic, narcissistic relationship that has confused and manipulated you, thinking that you can't actually get free. Thinking that you can't change. Thinking that you're stuck. You see, what I see is majority of people on this planet are resistant to change. I've been resistant to change 2 years. I'm still resistant to change, to different things that come up that it's like, oh, I need to work on this. I need to grow on this. I need to change and develop in this. Still resistant. Like human nature oftentimes is resistant to change. And so when we talk about can a narcissist change, it's possible with honesty, with truth. But then we also run into the issue of a lot of times survivors don't change. Now, I shy away from talking about survivors and using the word victim. But there's many calls that I get on that people only want to stay in victim mode of this is what he did to me. This is what happened. This is how I feel. But why did this happen? How come this? And it becomes all these questions about the narcissist. And sometimes I stop people and I'm like, hey, I can answer all of these questions. But at the end of the day, it won't find your healing. And we have people that are like, well, I get that, but it'll help me understand. And I understand, like, they want to just know and understand, but there's a level that you will not understand about narcissism because you're not a narcissist. Like, it won't compute in your mind of why does this actually happen this way when you don't think this way. Like, when you don't think the same way as a toxic individual, some of it is not just going to make sense. I can break it down logically and I can say, hey, this is the trigger that pushes the narcissist in this direction. This is why they do this. This is how, like, I can break all that down. But at the end of the day, we don't see healing come from you just consuming information, understanding narcissism. We see you getting healing by you actually working on you. And so when I talk to people, I'm like, hey, like, the stuff that I do, the people that I work with, the programs that I run, the communities that I'm involved in, all those things, like, those are meant for people who are committed to consistent transformational growth. Not people who just want a quick fix and who just want to change these small things. Because you have to understand, for survivors and for narcissists, we're not looking for someone to change. Like, really, the question as a whole does not do it justice. Because if we break it down, can a narcissist actually change? The real answer is 100% yes. And they do it a million times a day. Changing perspectives, changing the thought process, changing the ideas, changing the things that they're saying, changing how they're gaslighting, changing how they're manipulating, changing to look a certain way, switching from love bombing to future faking to manipulation, like back and forth. Narcissist changes all the time. And it's not just enough to say, can he change? He can change. He's not willing to. Have you noticed at the end of the relationship, when you finally have the guts and say, hey, I'm going to leave, this relationship is over, boom, he changes. You're like, oh my gosh, he's now doing everything that I wanted him to do. Yeah, that's because he knew everything that you wanted him to do. And he chose not to. Because he didn't need to use that level of manipulation or to appease you anymore or to validate you anymore, because he already had you in his grips and in his talons. So why actually do the stuff that he didn't want to do to start off with? But he did that so that he could get you. He love bombed you. He invested time, energy, and money into you to secure the relationship so he could feel better about himself. And then when you decide you're going to leave, he's like, wait, now I'll actually bring that stuff back. So I'll actually be nice again. I'll actually connect again. I'll actually love again. I'll try to do all these things to be able to connect with this person to keep them in the relationship. And you're like, oh my gosh, he changed. You're right, 100%. He changed in that moment because he did it to modify his behavior to change the outcome of you not leaving him. This happens all the time. We see people that are getting ready to walk away. And sometimes they'll be like, they'll get on a call with me and they'll be like, well, 3 weeks ago, like when I made this appointment, like I was in an awful place, but now it's not so bad. And I'm like, tell me more about that. And they're like, well, he started to do all the things that I asked him to do. And I'm like, was it after you told him he was going to leave? That you were going to leave? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, that's typical. Because the narcissist realizes that the manipulation game that they've been playing is old and they have to upgrade it to a different one. They can't continue to play the same game and have you stay. When you get upset and you're like, hey, I'm leaving, it's like, okay, now we change it around. We switch the manipulation so that it actually works. Like, you have to understand the narcissist changes all the time. So when you're looking, can your narcissist change? 100%, they can change. Let's talk about the difference. Transformation versus change. You see, change a lot of times is this outward behavioral modification. It's shifting in its style and what's going on the surface. But it doesn't just necessarily mean that the other person is actually developing completely different. Think of it this way, like when you go home after a long day at work, you change. When you wake up in the morning, you might change. When you mow the lawn and come back in, you might change. When you go to the beach and then you come home, you're going to change. Now, does that mean you change your personality? No, it just means you put on a new set of clothes. When we talk about this concept of transformation, it means that there's actually this level of self-reflection that is having this person start to develop from the inside out. This is why you can't force stuff on a narcissist. This is why you can't force, you're a narcissist, so you're going to change. It doesn't work. It never does. But we see people that still latch onto that hope and they're like, maybe I can get him to change. Yes, you can. You can get him to become a better liar. You can get him to change how he actually shows up in a manipulative way. But can you actually make another person transform? No. You can't force this on anyone. And we see this a lot of times with people that come to Raw Motivations that want to change themselves, but they do not want to transform. They come and join a program that starts them down a process of being really honest and truthful and opening up, working through their emotions so they can actually be free. And what they do is run away. Sometimes I'm still amazed at people that sign up for a challenge or a program or something like that and vanish and disappear. And we're like, hey, it's not our responsibility to reach out to you, but like, where are you at? Nothing. Because they're unwilling to actually put in the work. We have people that sign up for like our 7-day challenge, $7, and they get on, they're like, oh, I didn't know how to do homework. Like, oh, I didn't know how to record a video and post it of saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm struggling with. Can't help you if you're not willing to transform. Like, this is just the hard reality. And this is just me opening up and say, hey, this is what's going on. When people ask, can a narcissist change? 100% they can change. But can they transform? That's up to the willingness to be honest with themselves. You can't force that. You can't make that happen. And those of you that think you can make another person change, you're a fool. And you need to be reset and understand that the only person that can actually change, develop, grow, have transformation in their life is you. The question is, are you willing to do that for you? Or hold on to the hope that you can change and develop someone else instead of actually working on you. That's my tough message for today.